Your alarm hasn't even finished going off and your hand is already reaching for your phone. You're not fully awake, you don't remember deciding to do this. But somehow, before your eyes are even open all the way, your thumb is already unlocking the screen. But the real answer to why isn't about willpower, or bad habits, or too much screen time. It's about a search system in your brain that's been running since long before phones existed, and it never learned how to stop. Think about how strange this actually is. You are, by definition, not fully conscious yet, and still some part of you is already checking. Checking for what, exactly? You don't know. That's the whole point. You're not checking because you expect something specific. You're checking because checking itself is the behavior your brain wants to perform. In 2008, a neuroscientist named Kent Berridge, along with his research partner Terry Robinson, published research that reshaped how scientists understood reward and craving. Their work distinguished between two separate systems in the brain that most people assume are the same thing: wanting and liking. Wanting is the drive to seek something out. Liking is the pleasure you get once you have it. Berridge's research found something unsettling. These two systems don't always move together. You can want something intensely, compulsively, without actually liking it very much once you get it. Your phone in the morning is almost a perfect demonstration of this. You don't necessarily enjoy the notifications, the messages, the scroll. Half the time, what's waiting for you is mildly annoying, or boring, or nothing at all. But the wanting system doesn't care about that. It fires anyway. It fired before you even confirmed there was anything worth wanting. So where does a wanting system this powerful come from? To understand it, you have to go back to a world without phones, without screens, without notifications of any kind. For nearly the entirety of human history, waking up meant one thing above all else: immediately assessing your environment for information that mattered to your survival. Is it safe? Has anything changed overnight? Is there food nearby? Did a predator pass through camp? Your ancestors who woke up and immediately instinctively scanned their surroundings were the ones who caught the early warning signs. The ones who woke up groggy and unbothered, who took their time getting oriented, sometimes didn't get a second chance to learn from the mistake. This is where a behavior called checking behavior comes in, something ethologists have documented across many species, not just humans. Animals in the wild repeatedly scan their environment for changes, threats, opportunities, even when nothing is actively happening. It's not paranoia, it's maintenance. A constantly updated picture of the world is what keeps you alive in an environment where danger can appear without warning. Your brain evolved as a checking machine first, and a resting machine only in the moments checking wasn't required. Now overlay that ancient system onto a modern object that fits perfectly into your hand. A phone isn't just a device. To the oldest part of your brain, it's an information portal, more concentrated and more constantly updating than anything your ancestors ever had access to. Every scroll is a scan of the horizon. Every notification is a potential signal, and your nervous system can't easily tell the difference between a signal that matters and one that doesn't, at least not before you've already checked it. In 2012, a team of psychologists studying digital behavior identified something that made this even harder to resist. Unpredictable rewards create a stronger compulsion to check than predictable ones. This is the same underlying mechanism that makes slot machines so effective. If you knew for certain nothing new had happened, you wouldn't check. If you knew for certain something exciting was waiting, you'd check once and be satisfied. It's the not knowing that keeps the wanting system engaged, checking again and again, chasing a payoff that might or might not be there. Your phone, sitting on the nightstand overnight, becomes exactly that, an unpredictable reward machine, waiting for the first weak moment of consciousness to be checked. Here's where it gets more specific to mornings. When you first wake up, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for deliberate thought, impulse control, and weighing consequences, is not yet fully online. Sleep researchers have documented something called sleep inertia, a groggy transitional state that can last anywhere from a few minutes to half an hour after waking, during which cognitive control is measurably weaker than it will be later in the day. Impulses that your daytime brain might override are, for a short window, running with less resistance. That means the very moment you wake up is precisely when your checking instinct has the least opposition. The old system fires. The new system, the one that might say, wait, you actually need to do this right now, hasn't fully powered on yet. This isn't a flaw unique to you. It's closer to a design feature of waking up at all, colliding with a device your ancestors never had to account for. Consider what this means about willpower. People often frame the urge to check their phone first thing in the morning as a character problem. Weak discipline, bad habits. But you're not fighting a fair fight in that half-awake state. You're asking a system built to scan for danger the instant consciousness returns to somehow recognize that a notification icon is not a rustle in the grass, using a part of your brain that hasn't finished booting up yet. There's a reason this urge feels almost involuntary. In a very real sense, it is. Think about what happens the moment you do check. Even a mildly interesting piece of information, a message, a headline, a red notification badge, delivers a small dopamine signal, not necessarily because it makes you happy, but because dopamine in this context is more about anticipation and seeking than pleasure itself. Checking gets rewarded just enough, just often enough to keep the behavior alive, regardless of whether the content itself was worth the interruption. So what do you actually do with a brain wired this precisely against you first thing in the morning? You can't switch off millions of years of checking behavior, but you can change what's available to be checked in that vulnerable window. Some people leave their phone in another room overnight, not because they have more willpower than everyone else, but because they understand that no willpower is required if the option simply isn't within reach during the exact minutes your prefrontal cortex is offline. Removing the phone from the first 60 seconds of consciousness doesn't fight the ancient wanting system, it just gives it nothing to grab onto until the newer, slower system has time to wake up too. That single adjustment reframes the whole struggle. You're not weak for reaching for your phone before you're even fully awake. You're running software built for scanning a campsite at dawn, now aimed at a small glowing rectangle that never stops offering something new to check. Your alarm hasn't even finished going off and your hand is already reaching for your phone. And now you understand what that reach actually is. Not a failure of discipline, just an old patient system, still scanning the horizon every single morning, waiting for the rest of you to catch up.